Hey everyone, welcome to this tutorial on The Entertainer as played by Chet Atkins and Richard Smith. First, the usual stuff. The full lesson is split up into several parts and only the first part will be released on YouTube. For full access, you can check out my website or my Patreon page. Both offer different perks at different pricing points, so there should be something for everyone. If you want the tab and notation file, then do head over to the website, look up the song and click on the music notes icon. That way you'll get a 20% discount. No account or login is necessary to do this. So today we take The Entertainer apart. And guys, I'm not gonna lie. This is going to be a good old-fashioned marathon lesson. Most songs consist of a verse and chorus that are repeated, but this tune is made up out of 4 completely different parts. So it feels like learning 4 different songs, and it takes as much time to practice and explain as one might expect. So it's a very long lesson. In this first part, we start with Chet's version of the verse, and the further we get into the tune in parts 2, 3 and 4, the more we switch over to the Richard Smith version. Now, this is the first time I ever transcribed anything from Mr. Smith, and I do have to say, my respect for the man went through the roof. He seems 100% committed to including every small detail, and that results in an arrangement that is rich and full. But at the same time, it is not as streamlined and efficient as, let's say, a Tommy Emmanuel arrangement, for example. But that left me with the necessary room to come up with some alternative ways of playing certain sections. It might be a surprise, but most of this arrangement is pretty doable. It's just a lot to get through. But in every part there is a difficulty spike, and I hope I was able to find a good fix for most of them. As always, by offering these other methods, I don't mean to imply that I know better than Richard Smith, but it's just a way to keep everyone going. I also want to mention that Mr. Smith has his own downloadable lesson for this song up for sale on his website. So if you're not on any of my platforms and this first part has sparked your interest, then you can also learn it from the man himself. One more thing, this song is in the public domain, so I have taken the chance and included on-screen tabs. In the unlikely event that this gets me in trouble, I'll just replace this video. Now clear your calendar for the next 3 months or so and dive in. Good luck. Okay, let's get to work then, because we have a long road ahead of us. The guitar is in drop D tuning, so you're dropping down the low E string to a low D. Now I will refer to this string throughout the entire tutorial still as the low E string, just to avoid any confusion with that other open D string. Richard Smith and Chet Atkins both use a thumb pick, but they also use very long fingernails to balance out the volume between the thumb pick and the fingers. I'm going to go for the thumb pick as well. I tried it without the thumb pick. It sounds fine. It sounds fine on an acoustic, on a nylon string, even on an electric. But if you're going for the thumb pick and no fingernails, then do make sure you pick very lightly with the thumb pick. Otherwise, the balance of the volume of the bass notes is always going to be out of whack. That being said, I'm going to dive straight into the intro, which is by far the easiest part of the song. Here we go. That last harmonic is entirely optional. We're basically playing the same melody line 3 times in a row, dropping down an octave each and every time. Start with the middle finger on the 12th fret, high E string, playing a high E. Going with the pinky to the 14th fret, and then with the index finger to the 10th fret, E to F sharp to D. Then to the 12th fret on the B string, then you drop down the index finger to the 9th fret on the high E string, and the middle finger to the 10th fret on the B string. I'm using the thumb pick now for each and every note. You can add the fingers as well if you like. Then we drop down to the 9th fret on the G string, to the 7th fret on the B string, then roll over the index finger from the B string 7th fret to the G string 7th fret, ring finger 9th fret on the D string, and then index finger 6th fret on the G string, and middle finger 7th fret on the D string. Now, if you really want to go for the ultimate efficiency, you can use the exact same fingering as on top here. And then go for the middle finger 9th fret on the G string. Exactly the same fingering. So pick whatever you like best, and then all the way down. Index finger 2nd fret on the D string, ring finger 4th fret on the D string to an open D string. Index finger 2nd fret on the A string, ring finger 4th fret, and then a quick hammer on and pull off from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret, back to the 2nd fret to the 1st fret, and an open A string. And then to the 5th fret, I'm using separate fingers, cannot even recall by heart if Richard Smith uses separate fingers or a bar, but you're going for an A dominant 7 sharp 5 chord. 5th fret on the D string, 6th fret on the G string, 6th fret on the B string, and 5th fret on the high E string. I'm using the index finger, ring finger, pinky, and middle finger in that order. It's also possible to do this with a small bar, then you only need the index finger, middle finger, and ring finger. So that full run. And now if you want to add that last harmonic, that's a tricky one. You hold on to the chord and you're going to aim for 12 frets higher. So you're holding down the index finger on the 5th fret. You're going to aim for the 17th fret. Point the index finger at the 17th fret, but don't press down, and pluck the harmonic with the thumb pick underneath. Now, this is fairly easy to do on one note, but we're going to stick to that picking position and we're going to drag that, outlining the same shape as this chord shape. So we're basically going to try and make a small circle up here from the 17th fret to the 18th fret, and back to the 17th fret. It takes some getting used to. It's a little trick. It's something that will click all of a sudden. But in my case so far, even when it clicks, there is no 100% guarantee. It always feels a little bit like hit and miss. So the chord and the harmonic right after. As you can see, my picking hand, my index finger and my thumb are fixed in position, and it's more of a full arm movement trying to outline that chord. Don't go try and pluck anything with the finger or move any position, because it will turn or it will become impossible to pull this off. Chord, fix the position, and sort of outline that chord on top of that. Fool around with it. If it feels too tricky, just play the chord and head into the first section. Nothing wrong with that. But that was the full intro. Now we're going to dive into section A. I'm going to divide up the song in 4 different sections apart from the intro. So section A, B, C, and D. And they do get progressively more difficult. I hope you will see that section A is pretty doable. Here we go. Straight into a full repeat of the exact same section. This is going to happen throughout the tune. You're going to learn a section, then repeat that full section, and only the last bar will change, because that last bar is going to lead you into the next part. So let's have a look at what we're up against. There are no real chord shapes here. I'm going to go over a few recurring shapes quickly, but there are no standard like C and D chord shapes. So we quite often grab this D triad, open E string down below, sounding like a D, ring finger 4th fret on the D string, index finger 2nd fret on the G string, middle finger 3rd fret on the B string. Quite often you're also going to drop down that index finger for a small bar on top, just adding the F sharp in there as well. Then you have a G chord. Now because of the drop D tuning, the G note shifts up to the 5th fret, so you get the ring finger on the 5th fret, an open D string, middle finger 4th fret on the G string, index finger 3rd fret on the B string, and again you're going to need an open E string on top as well sometimes. Then an E dominant chord, middle finger 2nd fret on the low E string, open D string, index finger 1st fret on the G string, pinky 3rd fret on the B string, and it's, as a matter of fact, it's even an E dominant 9 chord, the ring finger on top on the high E string on the 2nd fret, giving you E dominant 9. And those are more or less the chord shapes. There's a big rundown around the D chord as well, but that is basically just a bass note moving. We'll get to that pretty soon. So we start with the ring finger, 4th fret on the A string, index finger 2nd fret on the D string. You add the middle finger to the 3rd fret on the D string, and then the ring finger to the 4th fret as you play the low open E string. And then you head into that D triad chord shape. Now those two first notes are always an upbeat, it's beats 3 and 4. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You pick the low E string and the D string at the same time to the B string. You're holding down the 3rd fret on the B string, you pick that, and then you pick the 4th fret with the thumb pick. And this is going to be important in just a second. So you have thumb pick and then re-pick with the index finger. This feels strange in the beginning, but we are trying to keep that alternating bass part going. So thumb pick and index finger to the middle finger, and then thumb pick, index finger, and then re-pick that 3rd fret on the B string together with an open A string. I'm using the thumb pick and the middle finger for this. Back with the thumb pick to the 4th fret, so in that whole bar there's only one note on that D string you're picking with the index finger, and that is the second one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right in front of the beat, you shift up to that G chord shape, index finger, middle finger, and ring finger. That chord is in front of the beat, and the bass note on the 5th fret lands on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then you just play that double stop in front of the beat and you drop down the bass note on the first beat. You drop the pinky, sorry, I forgot that when mentioning the chords, you drop down the pinky on the 5th fret as well on the D string, and you pluck thumb pick on the D string, index finger on the G string. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You drop down the ring finger to the 4th fret, let go of everything else, and you play the middle finger on the 3rd fret on the B string. Now don't try to keep the index finger there, because that is going to make the next transition more difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4, open G string and open B string, and if you did it correctly, the index finger is open now, and you can reach for the 1st fret, small bar across 3 strings, but you're only playing the G string and high E string. And you're going to move that up to the 2nd fret along with an open A string bass note. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Ending up on an A6 chord. This is actually with that bar all the way down. Those first 2 bars including the upbeat. Ending up on the A chord, and now we're going to have that bass note ring out where the alternating bass part stops for just a second. You end up on that A chord, then you add the middle finger and the ring finger to the 3rd fret and 4th fret, basically ending up on our D chord again. You remove the index finger, open G string, open E string, and you add the index finger back to the same spot. 1, 2, 3. That is the 2nd bass note of the bar, still an open A string. Then you remove the middle finger and ring finger, D string and B string. You add the ring finger and the pinky to the 5th fret, again D string and B string, and you end back up on the D chord with a low open E string. Now these 2 notes on the 5th fret is the exact same pitch as those 2 open strings, G string and E string. I'm guessing this is done to prepare the move into that D triad. If you think it is easier to do this with 2 open strings, then go ahead. Sounds exactly the same. So it's just what you prefer. I'm going to stick to that 5th fret. So maybe just that last bar included, and then we're done with the first part. Big D chord, open A string, index finger to the 2nd fret on the A string, and then the same upbeat we already played in the first section. So those were the first 4 bars. Maybe one more time the last 2 bars, including the upbeat, the run up to that first A chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Ending up in the exact same thing. Those first 4 bars all the way through. The first 2 bars of the next section is the exact same thing. Middle finger now to the 4th fret, instead of, maybe it's possible to drop down the ring finger as well. I like to already switch over to the middle finger. Then you drop down 1 more fret to the 3rd fret together with an open B string. And you add the index finger to the 2nd fret on the G string, and we're going to drop that down 1 more fret, ending up in our E chord. So those first 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, ending up in the E chord. The E chord is a tricky section. Low E string together with the G string, 2nd fret, 1st fret. Open B string, and then add the pinky to the 3rd fret as you play the bass note on the D string. 1, 2, ring finger 2nd fret on top on that high E string, and then you're going to have to move the middle finger to the 2nd fret for the bass note on the A string. So you're going to have to alternate with the middle finger between the low E string and the A string. 1, 2, 3. Remove the ring finger back to the D string together with the pinky on the 3rd fret, and remove the pinky for an open B string. And then you head over to an open A string and an open E string on top. Now that section on the E chord is tricky. That chord shape isn't easy, and then adding and removing fingers along the way can take a bit of practice to get that right. And you add a little A dominant chord, index finger 2nd fret on the D string, middle finger 2nd fret on the B string, and an open G string in between there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You already know that, so open A string, chord, index finger to the 2nd fret on the A string, and then the same upbeat. Now, maybe just quickly mentioning this, it's quite possible that you're going to see me hammer on to this note as well. There are sections coming up where you'll be picking quite a lot, and then giving yourself a small break just by hammering on to that 3rd fret can be a bit of a break for the picking hand every now and then. That being said, those last 2 bars, one more time, starting on the E chord. Those 4 bars all the way through. With a ring finger. See, so now I did that lead in with the ring finger and then switch over to the middle finger. Works just as well. You can basically pick and choose in that section. Those first 4 bars all the way through. Leading into the D chord again, and we're going to repeat the first 4 bars one more time, only changing slightly in the last bar. That is basically the only change. I added one thing as well. In that second bar, instead of plucking that D string, G string, Richard Smith also sometimes does a strum, just softly with the nail strumming down. 1, 2, 3. See, just strumming down, bass note, chord, and then moving down. The section on the A chord is the exact same thing, and then all the way at the end you end up on a D chord. You pluck, or Richard Smith plucks, thumb pick on the low E string, then index finger on the D string, middle finger on the G string, ring finger on the B string, 1. Then he switches over with the thumb pick to the D string and plucks the G string and B string with the index finger and middle finger, and then moves up that unit one more string, dropping down the bar to catch the 2nd fret on top as well, and plucks that with the thumb pick, the index finger and the middle finger. 1, 2, 3. Then replacing that 3rd fret with the middle finger with the ring finger, exact same note, to an open E string on top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then over to a standard D chord. No bar, index finger, ring finger, middle finger, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret. And you're going to pick the D string together with the high E string, 2nd fret. 1, 2. So D string and high E string to the B string, 3rd fret, and as you move the thumb pick all the way up to the G string, this doesn't happen too often, you remove the middle finger from the high E string and you play an open E string together with that 2nd fret on the G string. 1, 2, and this is a real sneaky one. Then you drop down a bar because you're going to need the middle finger to play a bass note on the A string. So 1, 2, a bar, and then move the middle finger to the 3rd fret on the A string. So don't try to play this whole section and then quickly move over to the A string. We need that melody note to ring out. 1, 2, 3, adding the middle finger to that 3rd fret, then B string, remove the bar again, but keep the index finger on the 2nd fret, so 2nd fret with an open E string again, and back to the 3rd fret on the B string. So 1, 2, adding the bar, 3, removing on the 4th beat, and then on the 1st beat, middle finger, 2nd fret on the high E string, ring finger still sticks to the 3rd fret on the B string, and the index finger, 2nd fret on the A string. Same picking pattern as on the D chord. You drop down one more fret. And this is actually a bit easier to play because you're not dropping that bar up and down. So you start with this A string together with the high E string to the B string, remove the middle finger and put it straight back down. 1, 2, and then drop down the index finger to the first fret. 1, 2, 3, B string, open G string and open E string, and back to the third fret on the B string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's one thing that I skipped over, which I think sounds very cool, is Richard Smith adds a little quick pull off on top. So once you have that basic picking pattern down, this is something that you can add. So instead of just playing, he does this. So really quick embellishment pull off from the third fret on top of that chord shape to the second fret. If you then play that whole run, this is what you get. And then back to, and we already know that section. That is already well-known material. Bass run up. Same thing we already played, and then we're already in the repeat of the first section. Ready to just blow through everything again, apart from the very last bar. That is the only change. So one more time, those last 4 bars. And straight into bar 1 again. Those last 8 bars all the way through. With the strum. Sorry, that's what it should have been, and heading straight into a full repeat. That was section A. Without a doubt, the most famous part of the whole song. Let me try and play through that whole section again, the whole 16 bars. And then for the repeat, I'm going to add the magnet to the guitar to give you a good look at the picking hand. Here we go, section A. Now for that repeat, I'm going to add the magnet to the guitar to give you a good look at the picking hand. Here we go, the full repeat of section A, only the last bar is going to be different. Here we go. So that last chord is pretty simple. It's a D chord, the one we already played, on an open E string, then to an open A string, and back to an open E string. That's all. 1, 2, 3. Then there is a little run up, but that is already part of section B. So I'm going to move that to the second part of the tutorial. That was the full first section. Now, I hope you had fun going through this. For those of you watching on YouTube, now is the time to switch over to Patreon or my website for full access to the rest of the lesson. I'll see you there. Take care.